I always recommend against people living with the person that they consider their best friend, because I think it causes conflict sometimes. But really it's about, I think it's possible, but it's all about asking those questions. Like, what do you look for in someone that you're living with? Are you willing to ask difficult questions of a person that you already have a standing relationship with to make sure you're compatible living together? I don't want to live with someone who stays up until 4 o'clock in the morning in a very small room because I get up at 5:45 every day. That does not create a conducive sleeping environment for me, but I have to be willing to talk about what my needs and boundaries are in a living situation. I can't just expect them to know. That people are a lot of things, but they're terrible mind readers. Like, you have to be willing to have those conversations. And I think that that is the starting point for every single roommate situation.
Assertiveness comes to mind, but we shouldn't have to be assertive with our boundaries. But sometimes the pattern they fall into is not hearing the assertion, not hearing the boundary. I think a lot of people feel that communication needs to be constant rather than consistent.
I mean, I think it goes back to some of it being authenticity. And so I think about ways that students of color show up in programs, events, classrooms, offices, whatever. I think they need to feel like they can bring their authentic selves to that space and be accepted for who they are and what they're bringing to that space. And knowing, and I know that there's a lot that goes along with that, right? It's not just assuming that you're gonna walk in and be like, oh, welcome, everybody's welcome, right? We can say that, but I think it's also on the different heritage months that we celebrate. I think about the different festivals and cultural festivals that happen on campus. That to me is what's exciting on campus. And I also think it's a great entry point for students who may not have experienced cultures different than theirs, right? To be able to walk into an event like Wazobia and see this wonderful celebration of various cultures going on in front of them.
One of the things that goes along with communication, Melissa, that you had mentioned is checking in. So I think you can have that conversation up front, but checking in, how are our boundaries going? Are we communicating enough? Are we communicating too much? You know, how did it feel the other day when I surprised you, at the library and you didn't know I was going to surprise you there? And checking in regularly can really help to adjust those boundaries throughout a relationship.
I also think what you just said, Dave, about knowing what you need for yourself. It's okay in a relationship if you want to go to the gym by yourself, if you want to study by yourself, if you want to have girls' night, guys' night, time with your roommates once a week, that's okay. Like, that is a healthy thing to have in a relationship. And if you do your own self-work and know that I'm going to show up as my best self, if I get to go for a run every morning by myself, then I'm going to be the best partner. Having those boundaries for yourself is really important as well.
It's very clear that our student demographics have shifted, and become increasingly more diverse, which is, I think, phenomenal. And then I think also within that also lets us know institutionally, and that includes all of us as campus community members, we have a sense of responsibility, if you will, to make sure that we're not just talking the language of diversity, and like I said, just talking that up as a value, but we have to live that value and mission as well too. So that it includes like being connected to offices such as Alana Services and getting connected to our student organizations and attending the various cultural heritage celebrations and events that take place throughout, the academic year. And some of it is simple things too, like connect with someone that you typically would not connect with, like, learning to step outside of your norm and your comfort zone and making connections with people so that you can learn more about, not just their backgrounds and stuff, but just getting to know them as people. So, I think when we do that, then I think, again, that's how we do that rapport building, that community building. So yeah, a lot of that just starts with a simple step of stepping out of our comfort zone